Good-looking stagecoach, that is what they call in a motor a bus, a motorhome. For 60 years Ernest Borgnine kept quiet about the co-star who made his life hell. Now shocking details emerge about what really happened on set: violent outbursts, sabotaged scenes, and the coffee-throwing incident that left someone with second-degree burns. But the most explosive revelation wasn't just professional, it was deeply personal. Today the truth about Hollywood's most dangerous feud finally comes to light. Ernest Borgnine's path to Hollywood was anything but planned. Born here's Ernest Borgnine in 1917 in Hampton, Connecticut. He started life as the son of Italian immigrants chasing the American dream, but before he could even form memories of his birthplace, his life took an unexpected turn. When he was just 2, his parents separated. His mother took him to Italy, where he spent the next 5 years completely surrounded by a new world. He lived in Carpine Mod, speaking only Italian and absorbing the culture as if he had been born there. Then in 1923 everything changed again. His parents reconciled and the family returned to the United States. This move wasn't just about coming home, it was about starting over. His father changed his name from Camillo to Charles. The family name was shortened from Borgnino to Borgnine, an attempt to fit in and sound more American for youngness. This shift in identity was people started paying attention. By 1949 he was on Broadway. His debut role was in Harvey, a long-running play starring Stewart, but getting there hadn't been easy. Casting directors didn't know what to do with him. His face was too mean for comedy, too funny for drama. It seemed like no one could figure out where he fit, but Harvey proved them wrong. Playing a male nurse, Borgnine found his place on stage, learning by watching Stewart's every move. He even kept a notebook, writing down observations, studying the way Stewart delivered lines, learning the craft in real time. The play ran for 1,775 performances, giving him the stability he needed. Then television came calling. In 1951 he made his TV debut in Captain Video and his Video Rangers, a low-budget sci-fi series where he played a villain. It wasn't a prestigious role, but it got him noticed. Columbia Pictures saw something in him, offering him a small part in The Whistle at Eaton Falls. It wasn't much, but it was a foot in the door. His breakout film role came with From Here to Eternity in 1953. Before Hollywood he had spent 10 years in the U.S. Navy. That experience made him a natural fit for military roles, but nothing could prepare him for playing Sergeant Fatso Judson. The character was cruel and sadistic, a far cry from the real Borgnine, who was known for his kindness. The film's most disturbing scene showed Judson beating Frank Sinatra's character Angelo Maggio to death with a nightstick. It was brutal, shocking, and hard to watch. Sinatra himself had doubted Borgnine's ability to play such a menacing role, but that doubt disappeared once filming started. Borgnine threw himself into the character completely. He isolated himself for days to get into the right mindset. When the cameras rolled he became someone else entirely. His performance was so convincing that Sinatra refused to talk to him off camera for weeks. Even crew members avoided him. The intensity of the role didn't just affect his co-stars, it stayed with him long after filming ended. He later admitted that he had nightmares about the scene for months. Audiences had an even stronger reaction. Some people were so disturbed by his performance that they sent him death threats. Unable to separate the actor from the character, the role took a toll on him, but it also made him a star. 2 years later he shocked Hollywood again. This time he wasn't playing a villain. In Marty he took on the role of an ordinary butcher looking for love. It was the complete opposite of Fatso Judson. The film itself was a gamble. It was made on a tiny budget of $343,000, an unheard of amount for a movie that would go on to win Best Picture, but Marty connected with audiences in a way no one expected. At the 1955 Academy Awards, Borgnine won Best Actor. He was 38, making him one of the oldest actors to win for a debut leading role. Even more surprising, he beat out Hollywood legends like James Dean and Spencer Tracy. His acceptance speech was simple. He thanked his mother for encouraging him to become an actor, but the truth was he almost never got the role in the first place. Director Albert Mann originally wanted Rod Steiger, who had played Marty in a television version. Borgnine wasn't even considered at first. That changed after a chance encounter at a Hollywood party. He charmed the producers so much that they decided to give him a screen test. His performance was so natural that Mann later said Ernest Borgnine didn't act Marty, he was Marty. That role didn't just change his career, it changed Hollywood, proving that movies didn't need big stars or huge budgets to win over audiences. Borgnine never let himself be boxed into one kind of role. In 1967, at 50 years old, he played General Wern in The Dirty Dozen, a film that became a cultural phenomenon. He insisted on doing all his own stunts, including a dangerous leap from a moving train. His younger co-stars including Lee Marvin and Charles Bronson, were impressed by his stamina. 2 years later he shocked audiences again in The Wild Bunch, one of the most violent westerns ever made. His character Dutch Angstrom was ruthless, yet was that his performance was shaped by real experience. He had served in the Navy during World War II, spending years aboard the USS Sill, that gave him a natural confidence in the role even when the show was at its silliest. But Mail's Navy wasn't just laughs and easy success. During the on-set a pyrotechnic device exploded too soon, burning his face and hands. Filming had to stop for 3 weeks while he recovered. When he came back his dedication was stronger than ever. That same year he earned an Emmy nomination for the role. The show even had an unexpected effect on real military operations. A classified memo from 1965 revealed that the U.S. Navy had consulted with the show's writers. Some officials believed Mail's creative problem-solving could be useful in real life. The result was Operation McCall. A series of naval training exercises is inspired by the show. Details about those exercises are still classified, but the fact that a sitcom influenced military strategy is unbelievable. Borgnine's television career kept changing in ways no one saw coming. In 1984 he took on the role of Dominic Santini in Airwolf, a fast-paced action series about a futuristic helicopter. By then he was 67 years old, but he refused to slow down. He even did many of his own stunts. That decision nearly cost him his life. In 1985 during filming, a helicopter lost control and crashed just feet from where he stood. His quick reflexes saved him and he walked away with only minor injuries. Then came a role that introduced him to an entirely new generation: Mermaid Man and SpongeBob SquarePants. It all started with his grandson, who was a huge fan of the show. The boy kept telling him he should be on it. One night in 1998 Borgnine mentioned this at a charity event. A Nickelodeon executive was there and asked him to read a few lines right then and there. With nothing but a napkin for a script, he delivered the performance that got him the job. Mermaid Man became a fan favorite, appearing in 17 episodes over 13 years. The show's creators even added little nods to Borg's real-life Navy service in the character's dialogue. His final recording session happened just 2 weeks before his death in 2012. At 95 he was still working, making him one of the oldest active voice actors at the time. For a man who became a TV legend, Borgnine once wanted nothing to do with television. In 1956, fresh off his Oscar win for Marty, he was offered the lead role in The Real McCoys. He turned it down, telling reporters television is a fad, it'll never last. Back then most movie stars saw TV as a step down. That mindset changed in 1961 at a charity event. He met a young boy battling a terminal illness. The child told him that watching his movies in the hospital brought him joy. That moment hit Borgnine hard. He realized television wasn't just about entertainment, it could reach people in a way that movies couldn't. By the time he decided he wanted to do TV, The Real McCoys was already a hit with Walter Brennan in the lead. That rejection was a lesson for Borgnine. When Mail's Navy came along just months later, he grabbed the opportunity. Years later he admitted he had been wrong about television. In an interview he said, "I was a fool to think TV was beneath me. It's not about the size of the screen, it's about the size of the audience's heart." Ernest Borgnine lived a life filled with unforgettable performances, but his love life was just as dramatic. Over 95 years he married 5 times. Some marriages ended in heartbreak, others in scandal, and one in lasting devotion. His first wife Roakem was with him before fame. They married in 1949 and had a daughter Nanai in 1952. For nearly a decade they built a life together, but Hollywood changed everything as Borgnine's career took off. Their marriage fell apart by 1958. It was over. The next chapter in his love life began with Katy Jurado, a Mexican actress known for her fiery presence on screen and off. They married in 1959, but their relationship was anything but peace. Their fights made headlines and their passion often turned into public arguments. By 1963 they had enough. Another marriage ended, another lesson learned. Then came the shortest and most infamous of them all. In 1964 Borgnine married Broadway legend Ethel Merman. Their entire relationship lasted just over a month. At first it seemed like a Hollywood fairy tale. They married in June, then set off on a honeymoon to Japan, but instead of romance the trip turned into a disaster. Fans surrounded Borgnine wherever they went. Merman, used to the spotlight, felt ignored. The tension grew worse with every passing day. In Tokyo things exploded. Witnesses later recalled hearing a heated argument echoing through the halls of their hotel. By the end of the trip Merman had reached her breaking point. In a fit of rage she threw a diamond and pearl ring into a koi pond. Less than 5 weeks after saying "I do," she filed for divorce. Merman never spoke about the marriage again. Instead she let her silence do the talking. In 1978 she released an autobiography. One chapter was titled "My Marriage to Ernest Borgnine." Readers turned the page expecting a story. Instead they found nothing but a blank page. It was a statement that said everything without a single word. Borgnine later admitted how much it hurt. That blank page said more to me than Anything she could have written, he said in an interview. It was a slap in the face I'll never forget. After that disaster, Borgnine married Donna Rancourt in 1965. They had 3 children, Sharon, Christopher and Diana. This marriage lasted longer than the others, but by 197 it too ended in divorce. Then finally he found the one in 1972. Borgnine met Norwegian businesswoman Tove Tracy at a party in Las Vegas. She knew his reputation and hesitated at first, but Borgnine won her over with his charm. They married in 1973, and for the first time he found real stability. Tove wasn't just his wife, she was his partner in every way. She built a successful beauty business and Borgnine became her biggest supporter. He even joked that he was the oldest living Avon lady in the world. After appearing in her ads, their love endured for nearly 4 decades, longer than all his previous marriages combined. In the final years of his life, Borgnine often said that Tove was the reason he kept going. In his last interview just weeks before his death, he said, "I'm 95 years old and I'm still going strong. I think it's because of the love I have for Tove." On July 8, 2012 he passed away with her by his side holding his head. After years of searching, he had finally found the love that lasted. Meanwhile, Ernest Borgnine and Shelley Winters were both stars with strong personalities, which made their time together on the Poseidon adventure anything but easy. The 1972 disaster film followed a group of passengers fighting to survive after their ship capsized. Borgnine played a tough detective and Winters played his determined wife. Their performances were intense, but behind the scenes their working relationship was full of tension. Winters was known for her demanding approach. She believed in fully understanding her characters and often pushed for changes to the script. One day she arrived on set with a 20-page document outlining her character's backstory. She insisted on rewriting lines to fit her vision. The screenwriter resisted and Borgnine found himself caught in the middle. He later admitted that working with Winters was exhausting because she wanted to control every detail. The biggest challenge came during a difficult underwater scene. Winters insisted on doing her own stunts even though the production team worried about safety. She wanted to prove she could still swim like a champion. At 51, what should have been a quick shoot stretched into a brutal 14-hour day. The scene had to be filmed 65 times before the director was satisfied. The long hours frustrated everyone, including Borgnine, but he remained professional. Later he called it one of the hardest days of his career. Despite the struggles, Winters's performance was unforgettable. Her dedication paid off when she earned an Academy Award nomination. Borgnine, despite his frustration, later admitted that Winters's instincts were often right. Years after the film, he described her as a force of nature, difficult, unpredictable, but undeniably talented. He believed that working with her was both a challenge and a privilege. In the end, their clashes on set only added to the intensity of their performances. Mo always admired Spencer Tracy, but working with him on Bad Day at Black Rock in 1955 was something else entirely. It wasn't just about respect, it was about intimidation. Filming started on July 12, 1954 in Lone Pine, California. The heat was brutal, soaring past 100 degrees, but Borgnine barely noticed. He was too busy worrying about sharing the screen with one of Hollywood's greatest actors. Tracy was 54, two-time Academy Award winner and known for his nuanced approach to acting. Borgnine at 37 was still proving himself. That gap in experience hung over every scene they shared. Tracy had a way of keeping his co-stars off balance. He didn't just memorize lines, he changed them, improvised and delivered them with such confidence that it was impossible to tell what was scripted and what wasn't. Borgnine wasn't used to that. One day Tracy threw in an unexpected line during a tense scene. Borgnine froze. The moment was real and that exact take made it into the final cut. Director John Sturges liked to film in long, uninterrupted takes. For an actor like Tracy, that was no problem. For someone like Borgnine, it was a nightmare. On August 17, during an important scene, he messed up his lines 7 times in a row. With each mistake, Tracy's frustration became more obvious. Borgnine felt smaller by the second. The tension between them bled into their performances. Borgnine played Coy Trimble, a short-tempered thug. Tracy played John Jamaker, a man who didn't back down. Their scenes together already had weight, but nothing compared to the fight scene in the town's diner. Filmed on August 23, this brawl became one of the most memorable moments in the film. Tracy, playing a one-armed war veteran, had to take down Borgnine's character using pure skill. In real life, Borgnine was bigger. He stood 5'9" and weighed around 210 pounds. Tracy, though slightly taller at 5'10" and was much lighter at 160 pounds. Their physical contrast made the scene even more intense. They needed 14 takes to get it right. By the 7th, things got too real. Borgnine accidentally landed a hard punch to Tracy's jaw. The set went silent. Tracy paused for a second, then shrugged it off like nothing had happened. Borgnine, already nervous, now felt even more on edge. He kept messing up. The pressure only got worse. Then came the moment that stuck with Borgnine for years. Tracy, staring him down, delivered the line, "You're not only wrong, you're wrong," at the top of your voice. Something about the way he said it felt personal, like he wasn't just talking to the character but to Borgnine himself. The final part of the fight involved Tracy flipping Borgnine onto a table using a single-arm judo throw. No stunt doubles, just two exhausted actors giving everything they had. They filmed the last take at exactly 4:17 p.m. The frustration, the sweat, the exhaustion, it all made the scene feel raw and real. Despite everything, that fight changed things between them. Tracy, who had spent most of the shoot